Lily Martinez pressed her small nose against the cool glass window of Corner Café. The 8-year-old girl watched as strange creatures walked past on the busy street outside. Some had long tails that dragged behind them. Others had eyes that glowed like tiny stars. A few even had wings that sparkled in the artificial light of Station Omega-7. The little girl had lived on this space station for 6 months now. Her parents were important people who worked for Earth. They talked to aliens from different planets and tried to make friends with them. Most days, they were too busy to spend time with Lily, so she came to this cafe with Charlie, her robot. Babysitter. Charlie was nice enough, but he only talked about safety rules and homework. He never wanted to hear about the interesting aliens Lily saw every day. Right now, Charlie was charging his battery in the corner. His blue lights blinked slowly as he slept. Lily turned away from the window and looked around the cafe. The owner was a friendly green alien named Bork. He had 6 arms and always made the best hot chocolate in the galaxy. The cafe was full of different creatures, all talking in their own languages. The sounds mixed together like a strange song. Most of the aliens ignored Lily. Some looked at her with curiosity, like she was a cute pet. Others seemed nervous around humans. Lily was used to this. Her parents had explained that humans were still new to most aliens. Many had never seen a human child before. That's when Lily noticed Dot in the far corner of the cafe. Sitting alone in the biggest booth was the most interesting alien she had ever seen. He was very tall, even while sitting down. His skin was a beautiful silver blue color, like the ocean on Earth during winter. He had 4 arms instead of 2, and they moved in a graceful way when he lifted his cup to drink. The alien wore simple gray robes that seemed to shimmer when the light hit them. But what caught Lily's attention most were his eyes. They were large and golden, and they looked very, very sad. He stared out the window at the stars, like he was thinking about something far away. Lily noticed that other aliens in the cafe kept looking at the silver blue creature, but they always looked away quickly, like they were afraid. She heard some of them whisper the word Zephyrian to each other. They said it the way people said dangerous or scary. But Lily didn't think he looked scary at all. He just looked lonely. She picked up her cup of hot chocolate and walked over to his table. The alien was so lost in thought that he didn't notice her until she stood right next to him. "Hi," Lily said in her cheerful voice. "Are you sad?" The alien jumped in surprise. All 4 of his hands moved at once, and he almost knocked over his drink. His golden eyes went wide as he looked down at the small human girl standing beside his table. He started to say, but no more words came out. He seemed shocked that anyone had talked to him, especially a child. "You look really sad," Lily continued. "My mom says when people look sad, sometimes they need a friend. Can I sit with you?" The alien looked around the cafe. Every other creature was watching them now, but they all looked away when he met their eyes. He had been sitting alone for 2 hours, and no one had come near his table. Now this tiny human was asking to join him. "You are not afraid?" he asked. His voice was deep and smooth, like distant thunder. Lily shook her head. "Why would I be afraid? You seem nice. You have pretty eyes." Something strange happened to the alien's face. The corners of his mouth turned up slightly. Lily realized he was trying to smile, like he had forgotten how. "You may sit," he said softly. Lily climbed up onto the booth seat across from him. Her legs didn't reach the floor, so they swung back and forth as she got comfortable. She took a big sip of her hot chocolate and looked at the alien with bright, curious eyes. "I'm Lily," she said. "What's your name?" The alien paused for a long moment. "You may call me Kale," he finally said. "Kale," Lily repeated, testing out the sound. "That's a pretty name. Are you from far away?" Kale nodded slowly. Very far away. Me too, Lily said excitedly. I'm from Earth. That's where humans come from. Have you ever seen a human before? I have seen humans, Kale said carefully, but I have never spoken with one like this. Lily pulled a small cookie from her pocket. It was shaped like a star and covered with colorful sprinkles. She broke it in half and offered one piece to Kale. Want some? It's my favorite kind. Charlie gets them for me from the food machine. Kale stared at the cookie half in Lily's small hand. His golden eyes seemed to get watery, though Lily didn't understand why. Slowly, he reached out with one of his 4 hands and took the cookie. Thank you, he said quietly. They ate their cookies in comfortable silence for a moment. Lily watched Kale's 4 arms move and thought it was the coolest thing ever. Wow, 4 arms must be really useful, she said. You could hug 4 people at once, or carry lots of things, or draw 4 pictures at the same time. Kale made a soft sound that might have been a laugh. I have never thought of it that way. What do you do for work? Lily asked. My parents work with aliens. They try to help everyone get along. Kale's expression became serious again. I have many responsibilities. Sometimes they make me very tired. Is your boss mean to you? Lily asked with concern. If someone is mean to you at work, you should tell them to stop. Everyone deserves to be treated nice. This time, Kale did laugh. It was a rusty sound, like he hadn't done it in a very long time. It is more complicated than that, little one. Grown-up problems are always complicated, Lily said wisely. But usually they're not as hard as grown-ups think they are. Kids are better at solving problems because we don't make them so difficult. Kale studied the small human girl across from him. She couldn't be more than 8 years old, but she spoke with a confidence that amazed him. More than that, she looked at him without fear, without awe, without any of the emotions he usually saw in others. She just saw him as a person. Tell me about Earth, Kale said, changing the subject. Lily's face lit up. For the next 20 minutes, she told him about blue skies and green grass, about cats and dogs, about ice cream and birthdays. She described snow and rain and flowers, things that Kale had heard about but never experienced. She told him about her favorite cartoons and her pet space hamster named Buddy. Kale listened to every word. He asked questions about things he didn't understand, like Saturday morning cartoons and riding bicycles. Lily answered everything with patience and excitement, happy to have someone who wanted to hear about her world. As they talked, Kale felt something he hadn't experienced in many years. The tight feeling in his chest was getting looser. The weight on his shoulders felt a little lighter. For these precious minutes, he wasn't thinking about wars or politics or the fate of billions of beings across the galaxy. He was just Kale, talking to a friend. When Charlie's charging light turned green, the robot rolled over to their table. Miss Lily, Charlie said in his mechanical voice, it is time to return to your quarters. Your parents will be home soon. Lily's face fell. Already? She looked at Kale with disappointed eyes. Will you be here tomorrow? Kale hesitated. He had planned to leave the station tonight. His duties called him back to his home world. But looking at this small human who had given him something precious, a few moments of simple happiness, he found himself nodding. Yes, he said, I will be here tomorrow. Lily beamed at him. Great, I'll bring more cookies. And maybe I can show you pictures of Earth on my tablet. She slid off the booth seat and waved goodbye with both hands. See you tomorrow, Kale. As Lily and Charlie left the cafe, Kale sat alone again in his corner booth. But somehow, the loneliness didn't feel as heavy as before. He looked out at the stars, and for the first time in decades, smiled a real smile. The next afternoon, Lily bounced into Corner Café with her backpack full of treasures. She had spent all morning picking out things to show her new friend. Charlie rolled behind her, his sensors scanning the room for potential dangers. Kale was already sitting in the same corner booth, looking out at the stars. When he saw Lily approaching, his golden eyes brightened, and his forearms moved in what looked like a happy wave. "Kale!" Lily called out, rushing over to the table. "I brought so many things to show you." She climbed up onto the booth seat and dumped her backpack onto the table. Out came her tablet, a small stuffed animal, some colorful drawing pencils, and a bag of the star-shaped cookies from yesterday. "I got extra cookies," Lily announced, pushing the bag toward Kale. "Orc said these are made with real earth sugar. He special ordered them just for me." Kale picked up one of the cookies and examined it carefully. "You brought these for me?" "Of course. Friends share good things with each other. That's what my mom always says." The word friends made Kale pause. When was the last time someone had called him that? When was the last time anyone had brought him a gift just to make him smile? "Thank you, Lily," he said softly. "This is very kind." Lily was already pulling up pictures on her tablet. "Look, these are photos from Earth. This is my old house before we moved to the station." She showed him a small house with a green yard and colorful flowers. Kale studied the image with fascination. "The grass is really that green?" he asked. "Even greener sometimes. And it's soft under your feet. Not like the metal floors here. Oh, and look at this." She swiped to a picture of a small furry animal with pointy ears and a long tail. "That's my cat, Whiskers. I had to leave him with my grandma when we moved to space. Cats don't like space travel very much." "What does a cat do?" Kale asked. Lily giggled. "Cats are funny. They sleep a lot, and they purr when they're happy. Purring is like a rumbling sound they make. And they like to play with string and chase little toys." She showed him more pictures. Dogs running in parks, children playing on swings, her grandmother baking cookies in a kitchen filled with warm light. "Earth sounds very peaceful," Kale said quietly. "Most of the time it is. But grown-ups there worry about things too, just like grown-ups everywhere." Lily tilted her head and looked at him. "Do you have pictures of your home?" Kale hesitated. How could he explain his world without revealing who he really was? His palace had towers that reached the clouds and gardens that sparkled with crystal flowers. His home world had 3 moons and cities that floated in the sky. "My home is very different from Earth," he said carefully. "It is larger, and there are many people there who depend on me. Like a big family? Something like that." Lily nodded as if this made perfect sense. She pulled out her drawing pencils and a piece of paper. "I'm going to draw you a picture," she announced. "What's your favorite color?" "I have never thought about that before." "Never? How can you not have a favorite color?" "Everyone has a favorite color." Lily looked shocked. "What color makes you feel happy?" Kale thought about this seriously. "Blue, I think. Like the blue of deep water." "Perfect. I'll use lots of blue." As Lily drew, she chatted about her life on the station. She told him about her lessons with the teaching computer, about the other alien children she sometimes played with, and about how much she missed Earth food. "The food machines here are okay," she said, still drawing. "But they don't make pizza or ice cream like on Earth. And I really miss my mom's chocolate chip cookies." "Your mother makes cookies? The best cookies in the universe." "She lets me help sometimes. We measure the ingredients and mix them together. It's fun to do things with your hands instead of just pressing buttons." Kale watched her small hands move the pencils across the paper. She drew with complete focus, her tongue poking out slightly as she concentrated. It reminded him of the artists in his palace, but their work was formal and careful. Lily drew with pure joy. "There," she said, holding up the finished picture. It's us having a picnic under the stars. The drawing showed two stick figures sitting on a blanket. One was tall with 4 arms and silver blue skin. The other was small with brown hair and a big smile. Above them, she had drawn stars and planets in bright colors. I drew you with a smile, Lily explained, because I think you should smile more. You have a nice smile. Cale stared at the picture. No one had ever drawn him before. His official portraits were painted by master artists, but they always showed him looking serious and powerful. This simple drawing captured something different. It showed him as Lily saw him, not as an emperor, but as a friend. "This is wonderful," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "May I keep it?" "Of course. I made it for you." Cale carefully folded the picture and tucked it into his robes, close to his heart. "Now I want to give you something." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. It was no bigger than Lily's thumb, but it sparkled like it held tiny stars inside. "This is a memory crystal from my world," he explained. "It will always glow as long as we are friends." Lily gasped and reached out to touch it. The crystal felt warm and seemed to pulse gently in her palm. "It's beautiful. But is it okay for you to give away something from your home?" "I want you to have it," Cale said firmly. Friends give each other gifts. Lily hugged the crystal to her chest. "Thank you, Cale. I'll treasure it forever." They spent the next hour playing simple games. Lily taught Cale how to play tic-tac-toe, though with 4 arms he had an unfair advantage. She showed him how to play I Spy, describing things around the cafe for him to guess. "I spy something green with 6 arms," she said, grinning. "Bork," Cale answered immediately. "Too easy. Your turn." "I spy something that makes me happy." Lily looked around the cafe, studying everything carefully. "The cookies? No. The stars outside? No. Me?" she asked quietly. Cale smiled his rare, genuine smile. "Yes." Lily beamed with pride. "I make you happy?" "Very happy," Cale admitted. "I had forgotten what it felt like to be happy. You remind me." As they played, neither of them noticed the other aliens in the cafe, watching them with amazement. Word was spreading quietly through the station that the fearsome Zephyrian in the Alzir corner booth was laughing and playing games with a human child. When it was time for Lily to leave, she made Cale promise to return the next day. "Will you teach me a game from your world?" she asked. "I will try," Cale said. "Though most of the games I know are quite serious, then I'll teach you more fun games. Games should make you laugh, not worry." After Lily left with Charlie, Cale sat alone with his thoughts. Somewhere far away, his advisors were probably panicking about his extended absence. Important decisions were waiting for him. His empire needed their ruler. But for the first time in decades, Cale found himself looking forward to tomorrow. He had a friend who cared about him, not because of his power or his title, but simply because he was Cale. He pulled out Lily's drawing and looked at it again. Maybe, he thought, being happy was not such a selfish thing after all. The crystal in Lily's pocket glowed brighter as she walked home with Charlie, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. She didn't know that memory crystals were among the most precious objects in the Zephyrian Empire, given only to the most honored individuals. She just knew that her friend had trusted her with something special. "Charlie," she said as they walked, "do you think Cale is lonely?" "I am not programmed to analyze the emotional states of aliens, Miss Lily." "I think he is. He seems like he doesn't have many friends." "That may be accurate. Most Zephyrians are solitary creatures." "Well, he has me now," Lily said firmly. "And friends take care of each other." She held the crystal up to the light, watching it sparkle. Tomorrow, she would bring her favorite book to read to Cale. Maybe she could teach him some Earth songs, too. There were so many things she wanted to share with her new friend. Back in the cafe, Kale made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He activated his communication device and sent a message to his palace. Extend my stay indefinitely. I have important business to attend to. He didn't mention that his important business was learning to be happy again, one cookie at a time. 3 weeks had passed since Lily first met Kale at Corner Café. Every day, she looked forward to their afternoon meetings. She would rush through her lessons and eat her lunch quickly, just so she could spend more time with her friend. Today was different, though. Instead of going to the cafe as usual, Lily found herself sitting in the living room of their family quarters. Her parents, Jake and Elena Martinez, were talking with a tall woman in a crisp blue uniform. The woman had the same dark hair as Lily's mother and looked very serious. "Lily, this is your Aunt Zara," Elena said, gesturing to the woman. "She's come to visit us for a few days." Zara Kepler was one of the most important diplomats in the Terran Federation. She had traveled across the galaxy to Station Omega-7 because of troubling reports about alien activity in the sector. But Lily didn't know any of this. She just knew that the grown-ups were acting strange and nervous. "Hello, Lily," Zara said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Your parents tell me you've been spending time at the cafe. Have you met any interesting aliens there?" Lily nodded eagerly. "Oh, yes. I have a friend named Kale. He's really nice, and tells the best stories about crystal cities and floating mountains." The three adults exchanged worried glances. Jake cleared his throat. "Lily, what does your friend look like?" "He's tall and has beautiful silver blue skin. And he has 4 arms. He can do so many things at once. His eyes are golden like the sun, and he has the saddest smile I've ever seen." Elena felt her heart skip a beat. "Lily, did he tell you what kind of alien he is?" "I think someone called him a Zephyrian, but I don't know what that means." Zara's face went pale. She pulled out a small device and projected a holographic image into the air. The image showed a tall alien with silver blue skin, 4 arms, and golden eyes. He wore elaborate robes and a crown that looked like it was made of starlight. "Is this your friend?" Zara asked quietly. Lily looked at the image and gasped. "That's Kale. But why is he wearing that fancy crown? And why does he look so scary in this picture?" Jake knelt down next to his daughter. "Lily, that's not just any Zephyrian. That's Emperor Kelvin Vorthik. He rules over 12 star systems and commands the largest military force in this part of the galaxy." "Emperor?" Lily looked confused. "Like a king?" "More powerful than a king," Zara said seriously. "He controls billions of beings across dozens of worlds. And Lily, he's very dangerous. The Zephyrian Empire has been expanding for decades, taking over other planets and forcing them to obey." Lily shook her head firmly. "No, that can't be right. Kale isn't dangerous. He's kind and gentle. He likes my drawings and shares cookies with me. He can't be the same person." Elena sat down beside her daughter. "Honey, I know this is confusing, but sometimes people aren't what they seem to be. But Mom, I know Kale. He's my friend. He tells me stories and plays games with me. He gave me this crystal." Lily pulled out the glowing blue stone that Kale had given her. Zara's eyes widened when she saw it. "Lily, do you know what that is?" "It's a memory crystal. Kale said it would glow as long as we're friends." "Memory crystals are the most precious objects in the Zephyrian Empire," Zara explained. "They're only given to the most honored individuals. The fact that he gave you one means—" She trailed off, not wanting to finish the thought. If Emperor Kelvin Vorthik had given a memory crystal to a human child, it meant he cared about her deeply. This was either very good news or very bad. Jake stood up and began pacing. We need to contact Federation Command immediately. If the Emperor is here on the station, we need to know why. Maybe he's planning to attack, Elena suggested. This station is strategically important. Or maybe, Lily said loudly, he's just lonely and wanted to make a friend. The adults looked at her with surprise. Lily's cheeks were red with anger. You don't know Kale like I do, she continued. He doesn't talk about fighting or taking over planets. He talks about how tired he is and how much he misses feeling happy. He's not here to hurt anyone. He's here because he's sad. Zara knelt down to Lily's level. Honey, I know you think you know him, but emperors don't just make friends with little girls. There has to be another reason. Why? Lily demanded. Why can't an emperor have friends? Just because he's important doesn't mean he can't be lonely. The room fell silent. Lily's simple logic was hard to argue with. Elena spoke softly. Lily, we're not saying your friend is bad, but we need to be careful. He's very powerful, and we don't know what he wants. I know what he wants, Lily said firmly. He wants someone to talk to who isn't afraid of him. He wants someone to share cookies with and play games with. He wants to feel happy again. Jake sat down heavily in his chair. Even if that's true, Lily, we can't just let you keep meeting with him. It's too dangerous. But I promised I would see him today. Lily's eyes filled with tears. If I don't show up, he'll think I don't want to be his friend anymore. He'll be all alone again. Zara watched the little girl cry and felt something twist in her chest. She had spent her entire career dealing with political games and military threats. But this child was showing her something she had forgotten. Sometimes the simplest explanations were the right ones. What if, Zara said slowly, what if we went with you? Jake and Elena looked at her in shock. Zara, you can't be serious, Elena said. Meeting with the Emperor without proper protocols could start a war. Or, Zara replied, it could prevent one. Think about it. He's been on this station for 3 weeks, and nothing bad has happened. No attacks, no demands, no threats. All he's done is have coffee with an 8-year-old girl. She looked at Lily, who was wiping her eyes with her sleeve. Lily, when you talk to Kale, does he seem happy? Lily nodded. He smiles when he's with me. A real smile, not the fake ones grown-ups use when they're being polite. And has he ever said anything about wanting to hurt humans or take over the station? Never. He asks about Earth and wants to know about human customs. He seems really interested in how we live. Zara made a decision that would change everything. I want to meet him. Zara, no, Jake said firmly. The risk is too great. The risk of not meeting him might be greater, Zara replied. If Emperor Kelvin Vorthik wanted to destroy this station, he could have done it already. His ship is probably cloaked somewhere nearby with enough firepower to turn us into space dust. But instead, he's been sitting in a cafe playing tic-tac-toe with a little girl. She stood up and straightened her uniform. I'm the Federation's senior diplomat in this sector. It's my job to make contact with important alien leaders. And right now, the most important alien leader in the galaxy is apparently Lily's friend. Lily looked up with hope in her eyes. Does that mean I can see Kale today? Zara nodded. Yes, but I'm coming with you. And your parents will be watching from nearby. Elena grabbed her daughter's hand. Lily, this is very important. When we meet your friend, you need to let Aunt Zara do most of the talking, okay? But what if he gets scared when he sees you? What if he thinks I betrayed him? Then we'll explain that we just wanted to meet him because he's important to you, Zara said gently. Friends introduce their friends to their families, right? Lily thought about this and nodded slowly. Okay, but promise me you'll be nice to him. He's already scared of people being mean to him. I promise, Zara said, As they prepared to leave for the café, none of them knew that they were about to make history. The first official meeting between a Federation diplomat and a Zephyrian emperor was going to happen because an 8-year-old girl wanted to keep her promise to a friend out at Corner Café. Kale sat in his usual booth, waiting for Lily. He had been looking forward to this meeting all day. She had promised to bring her favorite book to read to him. But as the minutes passed and she didn't arrive, a familiar feeling of loneliness began to creep back into his heart. Had she finally learned who he really was? Had someone told her she shouldn't be friends with him? The crystal in his pocket pulsed, softly, still glowing with the warmth of their friendship. But Kale wondered how much longer that light would last. Lily walked into Corner Café, holding Aunt Zara's hand tightly. Her parents followed behind them, trying to look calm, but failing completely. Jake kept checking his communication device, while Elena twisted her wedding ring nervously. Kale was sitting in his usual corner booth, but something was different about him today. His 4 shoulders were tense, and his golden eyes kept scanning the room. When he saw Lily approaching with 3 adults, he started to stand up. "Kale," Lily called out, letting go of Zara's hand and running toward him. "I'm sorry I'm late. I brought my family to meet you." Kale froze halfway between sitting and standing. His eyes moved from Lily to the adults behind her. He could tell immediately that they knew who he was. The way they held themselves, the careful distance they kept, the fear in their eyes. It was all too familiar. "Hello, little one," he said softly to Lily, but his voice sounded sad. Lily climbed onto the booth seat across from him like always. "This is my Aunt Zara. She's really important and works for the Federation, and you already know my parents." Zara stepped forward slowly, her hands visible and empty. "Your Imperial Majesty," she said formally, "I am Ambassador Zara Kepler of the Terran Federation." Kale's expression became cold and distant. The warm, gentle alien that Lily knew seemed to disappear, replaced by someone who looked like the scary emperor from the holographic image. "So," Kale said in a voice like ice, "you know who I am." "Kale?" Lily looked confused by the sudden change in her friend. "Why are you acting strange?" Kale looked down at her, and for a moment his expression softened. "They told you, didn't they? They told you what I really am. They said you're an emperor, but you're still my friend Kale." "An emperor who has conquered worlds," Zara said carefully, still standing at a respectful distance. "Who commands fleets of warships." Kale's golden eyes flashed with something that might have been anger or pain. "Yes, I am Emperor Calthan, Vorthik, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire. I have indeed conquered worlds and commanded fleets." He looked directly at Zara. "Is that why you are here, Ambassador? To negotiate my surrender? To demand I leave your territory?" "Actually," Zara said, surprising everyone including herself, "I came because Lily was upset about missing your daily meeting. She was worried you would think she didn't want to be your friend anymore." Kale blinked in surprise. That was not what he had expected to hear. Lily nodded eagerly. "I told them you're not scary at all. You're just lonely and sad sometimes. But they wanted to meet you anyway, because they're grown-ups, and grown-ups worry about everything." Despite himself, Kale's mouth twitched in what might have been the beginning of a smile. Zara took a deep breath and sat down at the table without being invited. Jake and Elena looked shocked, but they followed her lead. "Your Majesty," Zara began, then stopped. "Actually, may I call you Kale? Lily says that's what you prefer." Kale studied her face for a long moment. "You may. Kale, I have to admit, this situation is completely outside my experience. I've been a diplomat for 20 years, and I've never heard of an emperor spending 3 weeks in a café just to have conversations with a child. Is that a problem?" Kale asked, his voice becoming defensive. "No," Zara said quickly. It's just ... unusual. And it makes me curious about why you're really here. Lily looked back and forth between them, like she was watching a tennis match. Can't grown-ups just be friends without making it complicated? Elena spoke up for the first time. Honey, when someone is as important as Kale, everything he does affects lots of people. We need to understand his intentions. Kale was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his robes and pulled out the drawing Lily had made for him on their second meeting. It was wrinkled from being carried everywhere, but he had kept it safe. This is why I am here, he said simply, placing the picture on the table. Everyone looked at the crude drawing of two stick figures having a picnic under the stars. I don't understand, Jake said. Kale's voice became very quiet. When was the last time any of you felt truly happy? The question caught them all off guard. I mean, Kale continued, when was the last time you smiled, not because you had to, but because you couldn't help it? When was the last time you looked forward to something just because it brought you joy? Zara found herself actually thinking about the question. When had she last been genuinely happy? Most of her life was spent in meetings, negotiations, and political games. For me, Kale said, it had been decades. Until 3 weeks ago, when a small human child asked me if I was sad and offered to share her cookie. He looked at Lily with genuine affection. Lily sees me as just Kale, not as an emperor, not as a conqueror, not as someone to fear or flatter, just as a person who might like to have a friend. But you are an emperor, Jake pointed out. You can't just ignore that responsibility. No, I cannot, Kale agreed, and I have not been ignoring it. My empire runs efficiently without my constant presence. My advisors handle daily matters. But for 3 weeks, I have allowed myself to remember what it feels like to be happy. Lily suddenly looked worried. Are you going to stop being my friend because they know who you are now? Kale reached across the table with one of his 4 hands and gently touched her small fingers. Never. You are the most important friend I have ever had. Even though I'm just a kid? Especially because you are just a kid. You see the world clearly, without all the complicated fears that adults carry. Zara leaned forward. Kale, can I ask you something? He nodded. Your empire has been expanding for decades. You've taken control of many worlds. But you've never approached the Federation for peace talks. Why? Kale's expression became serious again. Because every time I have tried to negotiate peace, the other side sees only the emperor who conquered their neighbors. They cannot see past their fear to find a solution that works for everyone. And now? Zara asked. Kale looked at Lily, who was drawing on a napkin with her colorful pencils, completely absorbed in her art. Now I am wondering if there might be a different way, he said slowly. Lily asked me once why I don't try being nice to people instead of being scary, so they want to help me instead of just obeying out of fear. That's a very wise question, Elena said softly. It is, and it made me think about things I had never considered before. Kale paused. Tell me, Ambassador, what would the Federation say if I proposed a meeting? Not as conqueror to conquered, but as neighbors trying to find a way to coexist peacefully? Zara felt her heart beat faster. This could be the breakthrough the Federation had hoped for. I think they would be very interested, she said carefully. But they would want to know what you're offering. Lily taught me a game called sharing, Kale said with a slight smile. Perhaps it is time I learned to apply that concept to planets and resources, instead of just cookies. Lily looked up from her drawing. Are you talking about boring grown-up stuff? We're talking about how to help people get along better, Zara explained. Oh, that's easy, Lily said matter-of-factly. You just have to talk to each other like friends instead of like enemies. And you have to share things fairly. And you have to say sorry when you mess up. She went back to her drawing as if she had just solved the most complex diplomatic problem in the galaxy. Kale looked at the three adults with an expression that was both amused and amazed. "Perhaps we should make Lily our chief negotiator." "You know what?" Zara said, surprising herself. "Again, that might not be the worst idea I've ever heard." As the afternoon wore on, something extraordinary happened in Corner Café. An emperor and a diplomat began to talk not as enemies, but as two people trying to solve a problem. And at the center of it all sat a little girl with crayon-stained fingers, happily drawing pictures of a galaxy where everyone could be friends. The crystal in Lily's pocket glowed brighter than it ever had before, pulsing with the warmth of hope. 2 days later, the main conference room of Station Omega 7 looked very different than usual. Instead of the cold metal chairs and harsh lighting used for regular meetings, someone had brought in comfortable cushions and warm lamps, fresh flowers. From the station's garden sat in the center of the large table. Lily had insisted on these changes. "If you want people to be friends," she had told Aunt Zara, "you have to make them feel welcome." Now, representatives from 12 different worlds sat around that table. On one side were Federation diplomats in their crisp blue uniforms. On the other side were Kale's advisors, tall Zephyrians with serious expressions and elaborate robes. At the head of the table sat Emperor Calthan Vorthik in his full imperial outfit. His crown caught the light and threw sparkles across the walls. But next to him, in a small chair that someone had brought just for her, sat Lily Martinez with her box of crayons and a tablet full of pictures. "I still don't understand why the child must be present," grumbled General Vex, Kale's military advisor. His silver-blue skin was darker than Kale's, and his forearms were crossed in annoyance. "Lily is here because she is my most trusted advisor," Kale said calmly. "She has taught me more about leadership in 3 weeks than my council has in 3 decades. Lily beamed with pride and continued coloring in her book. Zara stood up to address the room. "We are here today because of an unprecedented situation. For the first time in galactic history, the Zephyrian Empire has requested peace talks with the Terran Federation." Murmurs went around the table. Some sounded hopeful, others worried. "The question before us," Zara continued, "is how our two peoples can coexist without conflict." General Vex leaned forward. "The Zephyrian Empire has always expanded to secure resources for our people. We cannot simply stop growing, and the Federation cannot allow further expansion into our territory," replied Admiral Chun, a stern woman. "With gray hair, we must protect our member worlds." The room fell silent. This was the same argument that had prevented peace for 50 years. Lily looked up from her coloring book. "Can I say something?" The adults all turned to stare at the 8-year-old girl. "Lily," Elena whispered from the back of the room, "this isn't the time." But Kale nodded to her. "I would like to hear what Lily has to say." Lily stood up on her chair so everyone could see her better. "You're all talking about this wrong." "Excuse me?" General Vex looked offended that a child was correcting him. "You keep talking about taking things from each other," Lily explained. "But what if you shared things instead?" She pulled out her tablet and showed them a picture she had drawn. It showed planets connected by colorful lines, with little ships flying between them. "Look, the Zephyrians need more space for their people, right? And the Federation has lots of empty planets that nobody lives on. So why don't you share?" "Admiral." Chun shook her head. "It's not that simple, child. Those planets have valuable resources, so share those too." Lily said as if it was obvious. "My mom always says that when you share, everyone gets more than when you try to keep everything for yourself." She turned to General Vex. "And you said your people need resources. But the Federation has amazing technology for growing food and making clean energy. If you work together, you could help each other instead of fighting." General Vex looked like he wanted to argue, but he couldn't find words. Dr. Kim, a Federation scientist, spoke up. The child has a point. Zephyrian crystal technology could revolutionize our energy systems, and our agricultural advances could solve their food shortages. But how do we trust each other? Asked Captain Ross from the Federation fleet. The Empire has a history of breaking agreements. Lily looked at Kale. Tell them about the Pinky Promise. Kale's golden eyes sparkled with amusement. Lily taught me about a human custom called a Pinky Promise. It is considered the most sacred form of agreement among children. He held up one of his 4 hands, extending his smallest finger. I am willing to make such a promise with the Federation. The adults looked confused, but Zara slowly extended her own pinky and linked it with Kale's. I promise, Kale said solemnly, that the Zephyrian Empire will share rather than conquer, as long as the Federation agrees to share rather than exclude. I promise, Zara replied, feeling slightly ridiculous, but somehow moved, that the Federation will work with the Empire as partners, not enemies. Lily clapped her hands. Now you have to keep your promises, because pinky promises are super serious. Over the next 6 hours, something amazing happened. Using Lily's simple ideas about sharing and fairness, the adults began to work out the details of an actual agreement. The Zephyrian Empire would stop expanding by force. Instead, they would be granted access to 3 uninhabited Federation worlds rich in the crystals their people needed. In return, the Empire would share their advanced crystal technology and provide protection for Federation trade routes through their space. Both sides would establish joint research stations and cultural exchange programs. Children from both civilizations would attend schools together, learning about each other's worlds. This is unprecedented, breathed Dr. Yates, a Federation historian. A complete restructuring of galactic politics, based on cooperation instead of competition. But the biggest surprise came when they discussed what to call the agreement. I propose, said Kale, standing up and looking at Lily with affection, that we call this the Lily Accords, in honor of the young human who showed us a better way. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Lily's face turned bright red, but she was grinning from ear to ear. Really? You're going to name it after me? Really, Kale confirmed. Your wisdom brought peace to the galaxy. You should be remembered. For that, as the formal signing ceremony concluded, Lily found herself surrounded by reporters and cameras. Everyone wanted to interview the little girl who had ended a 50-year conflict. How did you know how to solve such a big problem? Asked one reporter. Lily thought about this seriously. It wasn't really that big of a problem. Grown-ups just made it complicated. All I did was treat everyone like friends instead of enemies. What advice do you have for other leaders? Asked another reporter. Remember that everyone just wants to be happy and safe, Lily said. And if you share your toys, you can play together instead of fighting over them. Later that evening, after all, the ceremonies and interviews were over. Lily and Kale sat alone in Corner Café one last time. Tomorrow, Kale would return to his empire to begin implementing the new agreement. I'm going to miss our talks, Lily said sadly. Kale pulled out a small device that looked like a crystal butterfly. This is a quantum communicator. No matter how far apart we are in the galaxy, we can always talk to each other. Really? Really. You will always be my most important advisor, Lily. Whenever I have a difficult decision to make, I will ask myself, what would Lily do? And I'll tell you if you're being too serious again. Lily promised. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars through the cafe window. Kale? Yes? Do you think other emperors and presidents and kings could learn to be friends too? Kale smiled, and this time it wasn't sad at all. I think if they had friends like you to teach them, they could learn anything. 6 months later, the changes were visible throughout the galaxy. Former enemies worked together on joint projects. Children from different worlds played together in integrated schools. The fear and hostility that had defined interstellar relations for decades was slowly being replaced by curiosity and cooperation. And at the center of it all, a little girl with crayon-stained fingers continued to have weekly video calls with her best friend, the Emperor of the Zephyrian Empire, teaching him New Earth games and listening to his stories about crystal gardens and floating cities. The memory crystal in Lily's pocket never stopped glowing, a constant reminder that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't armies or weapons or technology. Sometimes it's just friendship. Years later, when historians wrote about the great peace that transformed the galaxy, they would call it many things: a diplomatic miracle, a political revolution, a new age of cooperation. But Lily would always remember it as the time she helped her sad friend learn how to smile again. And Kale would remember it as the day he learned that true power doesn't come from making others fear you. It comes from making them want to help you build something better together.